What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Anything Box. Once again, big thank you to Herman, and we are listening to another tune from their 1990 album Peace, and that is All These Days Undone. It's a bit of a poetic title. It has an older type of phrasing. I suppose something that is undone is that which has unraveled or broken down, dismantled, become a less orderly state relative to its previous status. So in that regard, All These Days Undone sounds like all the effort, all the emotion, all the interaction in previous days has been spoiled, sullied, dismantled, or otherwise come undone. And that, of course, leads to the question of why, and that would perhaps be explained by some transgression, some division, or some cataclysmic problem that happened between people. I mean, I'm inclined to interpret it in the context of a relationship, a interpersonal one-to-one connection that has been severed, but of course it could be about one's own life trajectory, everything you've worked for up to a certain point, not just in terms of a relationship, but your career, your life's work, your understanding, your place in culture, society, a community having been spoiled or ruined by something. So yes, as I said, I hypothesize that it will relate to an interpersonal / romantic relationship, but it could be broader than that. That could be just one facet of it. And of course, it might mean nothing of the above. So let's see what I can pick up on a first listen. This is Anything Box. The track is All These Days Undone, and it's from their 1990 album Peace. powerful tune, even though I'm not quite sure what's happening, because I think there was a lot of allegory, there were some visual references.
Hey, Chris.
I was not prepared for that. That was cheeky. So I'm guessing maybe that was the final track of the album, and that was a bit of a like hidden track, like, you know, secret little bonus cheeky add-on, which was very common for albums back in the 90s. I do remember a couple albums, like punk albums that I have, where, you know, there'd be like a minute, 2 minute silence, and there'd be some little tidbit, some, you know, joking around in the studio, which sounds like that's what that was, that the female vocalist was, you know, suddenly having a laugh and, you know, pretending to do the guitar melody from some other track. But when that laugh started, I was like, wait, is that outside my apartment? What is that? There was a moment where I didn't even know what was happening. So yeah, that's preserved for posterity. But okay, as to the actual track, it's interesting because it sounds like the title phrase, "All These Days Undone," is not actually what we hear in the track. It's all these hours. Now, functionally, you're talking about units of time, and the meaning remains essentially the same. And of course, days are comprised of hours or composed of hours. So even in a direct sense, it doesn't change the meaning. But it is perhaps a bit more, even more poetic to say hours, all these hours of all these days, all these weeks, all these months, maybe all these years having been undone. So I actually like the phrasing in the song better than the track title, though it, you know, it's not a major difference, but for whatever reason I think Hours hits a bit more poetically. And yeah, like, number one, the sonic atmosphere, like, haunting, a bit melancholic. It was like a sad Baroque synth ballad, if that makes sense. Certainly the main, like, keyboard almost chime, like, number one, it sounds like a music box, like some, you know, Baroque artifact that when you open it, it plays this, like, tinny, not tinny, that's a word that's often used, like, critically, more like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like this condensed or like metallic type of keyboard line, but it also sounded like a clock, like a, you know, a musical clock. There was a keeping time character to it, and definitely again a bit Baroque, a bit haunting, and, you know, maybe a bit gothic even. So it felt like a, you know, a bit of a like psychologically haunted piece. And lyrically, if I'm hearing it right, it is maybe about someone who did them wrong, left them, you know, abandoned them, or made them feel like these images from the past, like, you know, roses on a garden wall, and was it like sandals by the the roadside or something. Like, there were specific images which could of course be metaphorical, but they sounded almost like snapshots from the narrator's memory, but now rendered inert or meaningless because the dynamic that gave them purpose, gave them meaning, is no more. So yeah, my best guess is that it's someone who's been left behind by another person, you know, ruminating about the things that happened, the snapshots in the history of the two people before the break, before the separation. But yeah, I enjoy it. It definitely has a sad feel, but it also had a bit of, again, a bit haunting, a bit mystical sounding, a bit old and Baroque. So yeah, a very dynamic tune, and I would say sonically different from what a lot of the songs I've heard from them so far. So yeah, a cool tune. Love that little tidbit on the end, which I was not prepared for. As I said, shout out to Herman. In the moment, Herman, I don't remember what else may be next, because again, these were originally sent with like anything box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like, I think I've maybe gone through 10 at this point. I'm trying to remember. I guess I could look what I have in the folder because I've been downloading them individually. Let me see what we've got here. So I have 9. I guess that means there's one that I haven't reacted to among the 10 that I think were sent. So I'll have to go through and try to find what that is, because again, they're not labeled with song titles in the emails. So yeah, I'll figure that out. But the point is, as far as I know, after that one more additional tune, I don't think I have anything at my disposal. So if it is possible to go through more Anything Box, I would very much like to do that. Of course, I could poke around online. So yeah, either way, we'll try to prolong this deep dive. Thank you again to Herman for bringing these people or this group to my attention. They are not a group I had ever heard of. Same thing that happened with Red Flag. That was not a group I had ever heard of. So yeah, I'm really enjoying going through some of these, let's say, less famous but still very compelling synth groups. Indeed, if you didn't know, I just started going through Information Society. I was familiar with one of their songs going back to my youth, but Herman stepped in and has sent me a large folder with like 30 tracks, so we've got plenty more of that to go. Anyway, let me know what you think of the tune. I'll see you next time. Peace. What was that? What?